My daughter told her boyfriend, "We'll throw the old bitch off the cruise ship at 3 a.m. Sharks will destroy the body and we'll get her 3.8 million estate." I heard everything. I recorded it. I called the FBI. They arrested them mid-push, and I watched it all from the security room. I'm Margaret Chen, 62 years old, and 3 months ago, my own daughter tried to murder me for money. Let me tell you how it happened. My husband Robert died 2 years ago. Heart attack at 58 right there at his drafting table. 26 years of marriage gone. He left me his architectural firm, our house in Wellesley Life Insurance Investments. $3.8 million total. My daughter Ashley was 24 when her father died. Smart girl, Boston College graduate marketing degree. She moved back home to help me grieve. Sweet, right, wrong. I should have seen it coming. The way she kept asking about the life insurance. The way she'd suggest I sell the house, move somewhere smaller. "It's too much for you alone, Mom," she'd say. But I was grieving. I wasn't paying attention. 6 months after Robert died, Ashley brought Derek home. Derek Morrison, 29 MBA from Wharton hedge fund analyst, expensive suits, BMW, perfect teeth. His family owned car dealerships across New England. Old money, new arrogance. "Mom, this is Derek," Ashley said at Sunday dinner. "We've been dating a few months." "Wonderful to meet you, Mrs. Chen." His smile was camera ready. His eyes were calculating. I wanted to like him. I tried to like him. But something felt off. The way he'd touch things in my house, running his fingers over the furniture, examining artwork, checking wine labels. Appraising, always appraising. "Beautiful home," he'd say. Robert had excellent taste. "This must be worth what, 800,000 cow." Red flag number 1. They got engaged 3 months later. Top of the hub photographer, the works. 3-carat diamond that cost more than my first car. "We want a destination wedding," Ashley said, eyes bright. "Bahamas, maybe. Turks and Caicos. Something intimate." "That sounds lovely," I said. "We were hoping you could help with costs. Maybe 20 or 30,000. 20,000 became 50. 50 became 75. 75 became 100. Every time I wrote a check, they smiled. Every time they smiled, I felt colder. Then came the day everything changed. I stopped by Ashley's apartment with old photo albums. I had a key. I let myself in, called her name. No answer. Her car was outside, so I walked toward the bedroom, and I heard them talking. I should have announced myself, should have walked away, but something made me stop, made me listen. Derek's voice came through clear. "Your mother's sitting on a fortune, Ash. 3 to 4 million easy. She's spending it on what, that huge house for one person? It's wasteful." My hand froze on the doorframe. "I know," Ashley said, "but we have to be patient." Patient. "We're getting scraps. The wedding is chump change. We need to think bigger. That house alone is worth almost $1 million. If she sold it downsized, she wouldn't need all that money. She could live 30 years in a modest condo on Social Security." "So what are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting we help her see it makes sense to give us a substantial gift now, a down payment, seed money. She's your mother. She'd do anything for you." Ashley laughed. It wasn't her real laugh. It was something harder, colder. "You're right. We just need to be smart about it." I backed out of that apartment like I'd seen a ghost, set the photo albums by the door, left without a word. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying it. Was I overreacting? Maybe they were just being practical. Maybe I was a paranoid old woman. But I started watching, really watching. Derek was always touching things, always asking questions. "When did you buy this? What did Robert pay for that? Have you thought about investing more aggressively?" Ashley stopped asking about my day, my feelings, my life. Every conversation circled back to money. The expensive gardener, the insurance premiums. Had I considered letting Derek's firm manage my portfolio? They talked constantly about their future. The house they wanted in Chestnut Hill, just out of their price range. Ashley's dream of starting her own marketing firm, but she needed capital. Children so expensive these days. Every statement was a hint. Every hint was a demand. I felt like a piggy bank with legs. 3 months before their wedding, it exploded. Sunday dinner, pot roast, good China wine. Halfway through the meal, Derek cleared his throat. Margaret, we need to talk about something. He'd stopped calling me Mrs. Chen months ago. Just took that liberty. We found a house. The perfect house. 5 bedrooms, great neighborhood, walking distance to schools. Ashley leaned forward. We need to move fast, Mom. The market is crazy. We need to make an offer this week. You need a down payment, I said flatly. $200,000. Derek said it like he was ordering coffee. $200,000. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. When had she become this person? That's a lot of money, I said quietly. Mom, you have a lot of money. There it was, out loud. Dad left you well taken care of. You don't need this huge house. You should be enjoying retirement traveling, living in a nice, simple condo. Instead, you're hoarding cash while Derek and I are struggling. Struggling. She said struggling. My daughter, who'd never known a day of actual struggle. Your father worked very hard for that money, I said voice level. 60-hour weeks for decades. That money represents his entire life's work. And he would have wanted it to go to me. Ashley's voice rose. I'm his daughter, his legacy. That money should help me build my future, not sit in your bank account. What kind of mother doesn't help her own daughter? She was standing now. You're being selfish, Mom. Selfish. I think you should leave. Mom. I said leave, both of you. Now. They left. But Derek's eyes on me before he walked out made my blood freeze. Not angry, just recalculating, adjusting strategy. That was 8 weeks ago. I called my lawyer the next morning. Joseph Martinez had handled Robert's estate. Sharp 60 years old, seen everything. Joseph, I need to change my will. We met that afternoon. I told him everything. The overheard conversation, the constant money demands, the circling vultures. I want to set up a trust, I said. Ashley gets $250,000 paid out over 10 years. Everything else goes to charity. Joseph didn't flinch. He'd been a lawyer too long. We restructured everything. New will, new beneficiaries. The architectural foundation in Robert's name. The children's hospital. The animal shelter. It felt like amputation, but necessary. 2 weeks later, my phone rang at 11 p.m. Mom. Ashley's voice was small young, 10 years old again. Mom, I'm so sorry. I was awful. I said terrible things. Derek and I have been stressed with wedding planning. I took it out on you. Can we talk? Please? I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. Come over tomorrow for lunch. She came alone. She cried. She apologized. She said she'd been blinded by excitement, lost perspective, loved me, never wanted to hurt me. I almost believed her. I want to make it up to you, she said, wiping tears. Derek and I want to take you on a cruise. A cruise? Caribbean. 7 days, all expenses paid. Our treat. We already booked it. We want to celebrate as a family before the wedding. Please, Mom. Every instinct screamed no. But I looked at her tearful face and thought maybe I'd been wrong, maybe paranoid. Okay, I heard myself say. That sounds lovely. Ashley's face lit up. She hugged me tight. Thank you, Mom. This is going to be perfect. Everything is going to be perfect. She gave me the details over the next weeks, leaving after Memorial Day. Ship called the Oceanic Paradise. Our cabins on the Lido deck side by side. Mine was a suite with a balcony. A balcony. I tried to get excited. New clothes, hair appointment, reading about the ports. St. Thomas, St. Martin, Puerto Rico. Maybe this would heal us. Then 2 weeks before departure, everything changed. I was loading groceries into my car when I felt eyes on me. I turned. A man stood a few feet away. Mid-30s, Red Sox cap, sunglasses. Mrs. Chen. Yes. He glanced around, stepped closer. My name is Marcus Webb. I work with Derek Morrison. I need to talk to you, somewhere private. Every alarm bell rang, but something in his tone made me listen. Coffee shop 3 blocks away, corner booth. I don't know how to say this, Marcus began, hands wrapped around his coffee. So I'm just going to say it. Derek's been bragging at work, about you, about your money. My stomach dropped. He's been telling people he's about to come into a major windfall, that his future mother-in-law is worth millions and getting old, getting careless. He's been making jokes about how he won't have to work much longer." "Jokes?" I repeated numbly. "Dark jokes. Really dark. About accidents. About inheritance. About how easy it would be for something to happen to you on vacation, somewhere remote, without witnesses." Marcus leaned forward. "Mrs. Chen, I think Derek is planning something, and I think Ashley is in on it." I couldn't speak. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I have a mother too, and if some sociopath was planning to hurt her, I'd want someone to warn her." He pulled out his phone, turned it toward me. "This is from our office group chat, 3 days ago." I looked at the screen. The world tilted. Derek's message, 1 week until Caribbean cruise with the MIL. Ocean is beautiful this time of year. So many accidents happen on cruise ships. Old people fall overboard all the time. Tragic, really. Someone replied, "Dude, dark." Derek, "Dark is 3.8 million reasons to have a tragic accident, just saying." I stared until the words stopped making sense. My daughter's fiancé was planning to kill me. On a cruise ship. For my money. "I screenshot everything before he deleted it," Marcus said. "I have copies. I can give them to police. But I thought you should know first. Cancel this trip. Get away from these people." I sat there for an hour, Marcus silent across from me, processing. My daughter, my baby girl, was planning to murder me, or at least going along with Derek's plan. Grief hit like Robert's death all over again, except worse. Robert died from nature. This was intentional. This was the person I loved most, deciding I was worth more dead than alive. When I finally spoke, my voice sounded dead. "Thank you, Marcus. What are you going to do?" What was I going to do? Call police and say what he made a dark joke in a group chat, they'd tell me to cancel the trip, maybe suggest a restraining order, cancel the cruise. They'd just try again, differently, more carefully. Give them the money. People like Derek and Ashley would never stop. Today 200,000, tomorrow more, until I was drained. Or I could do something else entirely. I sat in Robert's study that night, surrounded by his books, his drafting table, the pipe tobacco smell that lingered. "What do I do, Robert?" I asked the empty room. "What would you do?" Slowly an idea formed, terrible, brilliant, completely insane. If they wanted to play games with my life, I'd play too. But I'd play to win. I picked up my phone. "Joseph, it's Margaret. I need your help with something unusual, and I need you not to ask questions." Pause. "Tell me what you need." Over 2 weeks, Joseph and I set a plan in motion. First, I contacted the FBI. You'd be surprised how seriously they take threats on someone's life when there's evidence. I met with Agent Sarah Reeves and Agent Tom Morrison. No relation to Derek. I showed them everything. Overheard conversations, money pressure, Marcus's warning, Derek's messages. "This shows clear intent," Agent Reeves said, making notes. "But not quite enough for arrest. We need them to take actual steps." So what do? We let them think they're succeeding. We put undercover agents on that ship. We watch record, and when they make their move, we stop them. You want me to go knowing they plan to kill me? You'll never be in danger. We'll have agents watching 24/7. The minute they try anything, we intervene. But you have to act normal. Can't let on you know anything. Insane. Dangerous. Exactly what I needed. I'm in. Next piece the trap. I called Ashley, asked her to dinner. Just her, no Derek. She arrived with flowers and that bright fake smile. "How are you, Mom? Excited about the cruise?" "I am," I said, pouring wine. "Actually, I wanted to talk about something related." I told her I'd been thinking about what she said, about being selfish with Robert's money, about restructuring my estate. Ashley's eyes lit up like Christmas. "I'm not getting younger," I continued. "The cruise made me think about mortality, about making sure my affairs are in order." "Mom, you're only 62. You have decades." "Maybe, but your father was 58. I pulled out the folder Joseph prepared, fake but convincing. "I wanted you to know I've made you my sole beneficiary, everything. The house investments, life insurance, all yours." I slid the folder across. Ashley opened it with shaking hands, reading the fabricated documents showing her inheriting every penny of my $3.8 million estate. "Mom," she whispered, "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll use it wisely. Build something your father would be proud of." She hugged me. I felt her heart racing, with excitement, anticipation, greed. "I promise, Mom. I promise." That night, she called Derek, I'm sure. They celebrated, I'm sure, everything falling into place perfectly. I'd just given them 3.8 million reasons to go through with their plan. The real documents were still with Joseph. The real will still left everything to charity. But Ashley didn't need to know that. Not yet. Departure day came. Ashley and Derek picked me up at 6 a.m. for the drive to Fort Lauderdale. We'd flown down the night before. They were in spectacular moods, laughing, joking, treating me like gold, which to them I was. At the terminal, while Ashley distracted me, I caught Derek on his phone. He didn't see me watching, but I saw his screen clearly. He was texting, "It's happening. 3 days and 3 a.m. starboard deck. Be ready to back up the accident story." My blood froze, but I kept smiling. Agent Reeves said she'd be on the ship as a passenger along with 4 other agents. I wouldn't know who they were. Better that way. But they'd be watching. Always watching. We boarded the Oceanic Paradise just after noon. Massive ship, floating city, 16 decks, 4,000 passengers. Our cabins exactly as described, side by side on Lido deck. Mine was beautiful. King bed, sitting area, balcony overlooking ocean. A balcony. Of course they'd booked me a balcony. "Isn't it perfect, Mom?" Ashley helped me unpack. "You can sit here mornings with coffee, watch sunrise, or be pushed off at night and become shark food. It's beautiful, sweetheart. Thank you." That first day and night were surreal. Dinner at the main dining room, Broadway show, walking the promenade. Ashley and Derek were attentive, charming, perfect companions. Other passengers saw a happy family on vacation. They had no idea they were watching a murder plot unfold. I spent that night awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to ocean outside my balcony. Any moment I expected them to try something, but nothing happened, not that night. Day 2, we docked at St. Thomas. We went ashore, shopped, had beachside lunch. I bought souvenirs I'd never use, posed for photos I'd never look at, all while feeling Derek's eyes on me, calculating, measuring, planning. That evening dinner at the specialty steakhouse, Derek ordered expensive wine. "To family," he said, raising his glass, "and to the future." "To the future," I echoed. The wine tasted like ashes. After dinner, Ashley suggested we go back to my suite for nightcaps. My suite, not hers. Of course, they wanted to scout the location, see the layout, plan their approach. We sat on my balcony, 3 of us drinking brandy, watching stars. The ocean was dark and infinite below. I realized how easy it would be. One push, one moment, the splash wouldn't even be loud enough to hear over engines and wind. "This is nice," Ashley said, leaning on Derek's shoulder. "Just the 3 of us, like a real family." "It is nice," I agreed. "Me too, Mom. Me too." They left around midnight. I locked the door with shaking hands, checked every lock twice, wedged a chair under the handle, then I fell apart. I cried for hours, for the daughter I'd lost, for the life I'd imagined for her, for the future that would never happen. I cried for Robert, who'd be heartbroken. I cried for myself for the fool I'd been, but by sunrise I was done crying. Time to finish this. Day 3. According to Derek's text, this was it. 3 days and 3 a.m. starboard deck, tonight. I went through the day like a zombie. St. Martin, beach, lunch. Ashley bought a sundress. Derek got a massage. Normal vacation things. The whole time thinking in 12 hours my daughter is going to try to kill me. Dinner that night, the tension was suffocating, at least to me. Ashley drank more than usual. Derek kept checking his watch. They suggested we meet on the starboard observation deck at 3 a.m. to watch for dolphins. "The crew said this is the best time," Ashley explained. "When the ship is quiet and water is calm, it'll be magical, Mom." "Magical." "Sure." "That sounds wonderful," I said. We said goodnight around 10. I went back to my suite. For 5 hours I paced. Agent Reeves said not to contact her. Don't do anything to tip them off. The agents would be in position. Everything would be fine. But what if something went wrong? What if they missed something? What if I actually died tonight? I thought about calling Joseph, leaving a message, just in case. But what would I say? At 2:45 a.m. I left my suite. The ship was quiet, just engine hum and occasional crew members. I made my way to the starboard observation deck, a quieter area near the back where passengers rarely went at night. Ashley and Derek were already there, standing at the railing, looking at dark ocean. "Mom," Ashley said, turning with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You came." "Of course, sweetheart. I wouldn't miss it." I walked to the railing, looked out at the water, moonless night, the ocean an endless black void below. "It's beautiful," I said quietly. "It really is." Derek agreed, moving behind me. Too close, way too close. This was it. I could feel it. The way they positioned themselves, the way Derek's hand moved toward my back. Then from darkness, a voice, "FBI, don't move, hands where we can see them." Floodlights burst on from every direction. Suddenly, the observation deck was daytime bright, agents everywhere. Agent Reeves stepped forward, gun-drawn badge glinting. "Ashley Morrison and Derek Morrison, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder." I'll never forget their faces. Ashley went through 5 emotions in 2 seconds. Shock, confusion, fear, then rage. "Mom, what is this?" "This," I said quietly, "is what happens when you try to murder your mother for money." Derek tried to run. Actually tried to run. Made it 3 feet before 2 agents tackled him. Ashley just stood there, frozen, staring. "You knew," she whispered. "You knew the whole time." "I knew." "But the will, the inheritance, you showed me." "Fake documents, honey. The real will leaves you $250,000 in a trust over 10 years. Everything else goes to charity, in your father's name." I watched her face crumble, watched her realize the plan failed and she'd lost everything. "You can't do this," Derek snarled as agents cuffed him. "You have no proof. We were just looking at the ocean." "Actually," Agent Reeves said pleasantly, "we have weeks of recorded conversations, text messages, and testimony from a witness at your workplace. We also have footage from cameras we installed in Mrs. Chen's suite, and this deck showing you positioning to push her overboard." She held up her phone. "Would you like to see? The footage is very clear." Derek's face went white. They led them away in handcuffs. I watched them go, feeling nothing but exhausting emptiness. Agent Reeves stayed with me as sun started rising over the Caribbean. "You okay?" "I'm alive. That's something." "You were brave, Mrs. Chen. Very brave. Or stupid, not sure which." "Courage," she insisted. "Definitely courage." The FBI kept the incident quiet. Officially, Ashley and Derek had a family emergency and left the ship in Puerto Rico. Unofficially, they were in federal custody being transported to Florida for trial. I spent the remaining 4 days in a fog, barely left my suite. Couldn't eat, sleep, stop replaying everything. Had she ever really loved me? Or was I always just a means to an end? When we docked back in Fort Lauderdale, Joseph was waiting. "Margaret," he said, pulling me into a hug, "thank God you're safe." "I'm safe. Not sure I'm okay, but I'm safe." That's a start. Here's what I've learned in 3 months since grief is not a straight line. Some days I wake up okay. Coffee on the porch Robert built, reading the paper, tending the garden, living. Other days I can't get out of bed, lying there replaying Ashley's childhood, trying to figure out where I went wrong. Piano lessons, private school, always saying yes, never no. Did I create this monster, or was she always this way, and I was too blind I'll never know? I'm writing this from Robert's study, the room where I decided to fight back. The house feels different now, quieter but lighter, like a weight lifted. Joseph's been helping me. The charities receiving my estate are already getting donations. I started a scholarship fund at Robert's alma mater for sustainable architecture students. I volunteer at the animal shelter twice a week. I'm building something, not a fortune, not a legacy, just a life that matters. Marcus Webb became an unlikely friend. He quit Derek's firm, started his own business. We have lunch monthly. He always asks how I'm really doing. I'm surviving, I tell him honestly. Some days that's enough. Agent Reeves checks in too. She sent a card after the trial. You survived, now live. I'm trying. The hardest part is loneliness. Robert gone, Ashley in prison. I have acquaintances, book club friends, neighbors who wave but no family. No one truly mine. Some days that feels like freedom. Other days, like a different prison. But I'm alive. Standing on the deck of my own life looking at the horizon. I'm alive. That's worth something. That's worth everything. If there's a moral here, a lesson from a mother who almost died at her daughter's hands, it's this: trust your instincts. When someone shows you who they are, believe them, and never let anyone make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. Even if that person is your own child, Robert would understand, I think. He'd hold me and say I did the best I could with an impossible situation. That's what I tell myself on sleepless nights. The story should end there. Woman almost murdered, fights back, survives, moves on. Clean narrative. Justice served. But life isn't neat. 2 weeks ago I got a letter from Ashley. Women's Correctional Facility in Kentucky. Standard prison stationery. My name in Ashley's familiar handwriting. I stared at that envelope for 3 days before opening it. When I finally did, my hands shook so badly I could barely unfold the pages. What I read changed everything. Again. The letter sat on my kitchen table for another hour before I could bring myself to read it again. Ashley's handwriting, once so familiar from birthday cards and grocery lists left on the fridge, now felt like looking at evidence from a crime scene. Dear Mom, it began, simple, direct. Not dearest mother or to Margaret Chen, like some formal legal document, just Dear Mom, like she was writing home from summer camp. I know you probably threw this away without reading it. I wouldn't blame you if you did. But if you're reading this, then maybe there's still a small part of you that remembers I'm your daughter, that I wasn't always this person. I poured myself a scotch. Robert's scotch, the expensive stuff he saved for celebrations, seemed appropriate somehow. They give us a lot of time to think in here. 12 years is a long time, long enough to replay every decision, every moment, every choice that led me to that cruise ship, long enough to realize I destroyed everything that mattered. My hands trembled. I set down the glass. I need to tell you something I should have told you 2 years ago, something that might not change anything, but you deserve to know the truth. Derek didn't just manipulate me into trying to kill you, he was blackmailing me. I stopped breathing. Remember when Dad died, and I moved back home for those months? I wasn't just grieving. I was running. From a mistake I made at work. A bad mistake. I embezzled $75,000 from my marketing firm. No, this wasn't possible. It wasn't for me. It was for Derek. He said he had this investment opportunity, guaranteed returns, we'd triple the money, and I could pay it back before anyone noticed. But the investment was fake. The money disappeared, and my boss started asking questions. I read faster now, hands shaking harder. Derek said he'd take care of it. He said his connections could make it go away. And they did. The investigation stopped. My boss suddenly dropped it. I thought Derek had paid someone off, called in favors. I was so grateful. So relieved. Oh, God. But 2 months later, Derek told me the truth. He hadn't paid anyone off. He'd manufactured evidence that made it look like my boss was the one embezzling. He'd framed an innocent man to save me. And now he owned me. Completely. The letter blurred. I wiped my eyes. He said if I ever left him, he'd reveal everything. The real evidence. I'd go to prison. My boss would be exonerated, but I'd be destroyed. And worse, you'd know your perfect daughter was a criminal. That would kill you more than anything Derek said. And he was right. I stood up, paced the kitchen, sat back down. When Derek started talking about your money, I said no at first. I swear I did. But he reminded me what he had on me. He said if I didn't cooperate, he'd send the evidence to the police and to you. I'd lose my freedom and my mother in one day. So I went along with it. I told myself I was protecting you from the truth, but really I was just protecting myself. The next paragraph made my stomach turn. The cruise was Derek's idea entirely. I swear, on Dad's grave, Mom, I never wanted to hurt you. The plan was supposed to be different. Derek said we'd just scare you, make you think you were in danger, then save you at the last minute. You'd be so grateful, so dependent on us, you'd give us anything we asked for. That's what he told me. Lies. More lies. Or was it? But the night before we left, Derek told me the real plan. We were going to push you overboard, actually kill you. I told him I wouldn't do it. I couldn't. He said I didn't have a choice. He'd already paid someone on the ship's crew to help. It was happening whether I cooperated or not. At least if I helped, he said we could make it quick. Painless. Otherwise, his contact would make it slow, make you suffer. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. When I came back, I forced myself to keep reading. I know how this sounds. I know it sounds like excuses, like I'm trying to shift blame. Maybe I am. But Mom, you need to know Derek had my boss killed. The words jumped off the page. 3 weeks ago, Derek's cellmate told me something. He bragged about it, trying to impress the guy. My old boss, Margaret Chen, no relation to you, died in a car accident 6 months after I left the firm. Hit and run. Never solved. Derek arranged it. He'd kept the real evidence of my embezzling all this time, and when Richard started asking questions again, started his own investigation, Derek had him eliminated. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Derek Morrison isn't just a greedy sociopath, Mom. He's a murderer. And I helped him almost kill you. There's no forgiveness for that. I don't expect any, but I need you to know I'm not asking to be let out. I'm not asking for money or help or anything. I'm telling you this because Derek's lawyers are good, really good. His family is spending millions on his defense, and I heard through my lawyer that they're trying to get his sentence reduced. They're claiming he was coerced by me, that I was the mastermind. My rage flared white hot. They're going to paint me as the gold digger who seduced him, manipulated him, forced him into this plot. His family is powerful, Mom. They have connections. I've heard rumors his sentence might get reduced to 8 years. He could be out in 5 with good behavior. I grabbed my phone fingers, shaking so hard I could barely dial. Joseph, it's Margaret. I need to know everything about Derek Morrison's appeal. 30 minutes later, Joseph was at my door with a file folder 3 inches thick. I was going to call you tomorrow, he said, settling at the kitchen table. Derek's lawyers filed an appeal last week. They're claiming misconduct by the FBI, entrapment, and diminished capacity due to Ashley's manipulation. Manipulation. He was blackmailing her. Joseph looked at me carefully. You've spoken to Ashley. She wrote me a letter. She told me everything about the embezzling, the blackmail, her old boss being murdered. Joseph's face went pale. She told you about Margaret Chen. You knew. I suspected. The FBI investigated but couldn't prove anything. Derek's too careful. But Margaret, if Ashley told you this in a letter, that letter is evidence. Prison mail is monitored. If she confessed to embezzling to knowledge of murder, the prosecutors need to see this. I hadn't thought of that. Ashley had to know her mail was read. She'd basically signed a confession. Why would she do that? I asked. Why would she incriminate herself further? Maybe because she's finally telling the truth. Or maybe because she knows Derek's about to walk and she wants to stop him. I looked at the letter again, at Ashley's handwriting, at the tear stains on the paper that weren't just mine. What do I do, Joseph? You give me that letter. I'll take it to Agent Reeves today. This changes everything. He left with the letter, and I sat alone in the kitchen as evening turned to night. The house felt even emptier than usual. I kept thinking about Ashley at 24, young and scared and making a catastrophic mistake, getting trapped by a sociopath who saw her vulnerability and exploited it. It didn't excuse what she'd done, didn't erase the fact that she'd stood on that deck and watched Derek position himself behind me ready to push, but it added context, shading, made the picture more complicated than evil daughter tries to kill mother for money. My phone rang at 9 p.m. Agent Reeves. Mrs. Chen, I need you to come to our office tomorrow morning. We need to discuss Ashley's letter. Joseph already gave it to you. He did. And it corroborates intelligence we've been gathering on Derek Morrison for months. We think he's connected to at least 3 other suspicious deaths. Business partners who died conveniently, an ex-girlfriend who fell downstairs, and now Richard Chen. Can you prove it? Not yet, but your daughter's testimony might be the break we need. If she's willing to cooperate to testify against Derek, we might be able to build a case. In exchange for what? Silence. Then reduced sentence, possibly parole eligibility after 6 years instead of 12. My daughter could be out in 6 years, could rebuild her life, could potentially be part of my life again if I helped her. I need time to think about this, I said. I understand, but Mrs. Chen, Derek Morrison needs to be stopped. If he gets out in 5 years, who knows what he'll do, who he'll hurt next. She was right. I knew she was right, but the anger was still there, the betrayal. The memory of standing on that deck, feeling Derek's hand hovering near my back, knowing my own daughter was watching it happen. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat in Robert's study, staring at his drafting table, trying to imagine what he'd tell me to do. The next morning, I drove to the FBI field office in Boston. Agent Reeves met me in a conference room with 2 other agents and an assistant district attorney named Catherine Park. "Mrs. Chen," Catherine said, shaking my hand, "thank you for coming. I know this is difficult. Is Ashley really willing to testify against Derek?" "She is. We spoke to her yesterday after receiving her letter. She's prepared to give a full statement about everything. The embezzling, the blackmail, Derek's confession about Richard Chen's murder, and the planning of your attempted murder." "Why should I believe her now? She's lied about everything else." Catherine nodded. "Fair question. But here's what you need to understand. Ashley has nothing to gain by lying at this point. She's already been convicted, already serving her sentence. Coming forward about the embezzling actually adds charges against her. She could face additional time for that confession. So why is she doing it? You'd have to ask her yourself, but my sense from talking to her yesterday is that she's genuinely remorseful, and she's terrified Derek will get out and hurt someone else. "She wants me to visit her," I said. It wasn't a question. "She does, but only if you're willing. No pressure, Mrs. Chen." I looked at Agent Reeves. "Do you believe her? Do you believe Ashley is telling the truth now?" Agent Reeves leaned forward. "I've been doing this 20 years. I've interviewed hundreds of criminals. Most of them never take responsibility. They blame circumstances, other people, bad luck. Your daughter spent 90 minutes yesterday walking us through every decision she made, every lie she told, every moment she could have stopped it and didn't. She's not making excuses. She's not minimizing. She's owning it. So yes, I believe her." "When would you need my answer?" "Derek's appeal hearing is in 6 weeks. We need time to prepare Ashley's testimony, corroborate details, build the case. Ideally, we'd need your decision within the week." I drove home in a daze. The trees were starting to turn early October colors, blazing against blue sky. Robert had loved fall, had loved New England autumns with an almost religious fervor. "What do I do?" I asked him out loud in the empty car. "Do I help her?" "After everything." The trees had no answer. That night, Marcus called. We'd been talking more frequently lately, our monthly lunches turning into weekly phone calls. "You okay?" he asked. "Joseph mentioned something about a letter from Ashley." I told him everything. The embezzling, the blackmail, Richard Chen's murder, the FBI's offer. Marcus was quiet for a long time. Then, "Can I tell you something about why I warned you about Derek in the first place?" "Of course." "It wasn't just because I have a mother. It was because Derek got away with something at our firm. A female colleague accused him of assault at a company party. Inappropriate touching, forcing her into a conference room, locking the door. She reported it to HR. 2 weeks later, she withdrew the complaint and quit. Just disappeared. Derek paid her off. Worse, he showed her photographs. Apparently, he'd drugged her drink that night and taken pictures of her unconscious. Told her if she didn't drop it, the pictures would go to her husband, her church, everyone she knew. She had no choice. My God. The point is, Derek Morrison destroys people for fun. He's been doing it his whole life, and his family's money has always protected him. If there's a chance to put him away for good to stop him from hurting anyone else, I think you should take it. Even if it means helping Ashley. Even then. Because maybe Ashley made terrible choices, but she was trapped. That woman at our office was trapped. You were almost murdered. How many other people are trapped by Derek right now? How many will be if he gets out? After we hung up, I sat on the back porch with a glass of wine and watched the sunset. The same porch where Robert proposed 30 years ago. The same swing where I'd rocked baby Ashley to sleep on summer nights. So many memories. So much history. All of it complicated now by betrayal and violence and choices that couldn't be undone. But Marcus was right. This wasn't just about Ashley and me. It was about stopping a predator. I called Agent Reeves. I'll do it. I'll help. But I want to see Ashley first. I need to look her in the eye when she tells me the truth. I'll arrange it for this weekend. The Women's Correctional Facility in Kentucky was a 6-hour drive from Boston. Joseph offered to come with me, but I needed to do this alone. The drive gave me time to think, to process, to prepare myself for seeing my daughter in prison. I'd never been inside a prison before. The security checkpoints, the metal detectors, the guards, the locked doors opening and closing with heavy clangs. It felt like descending into another world. They led me to a visiting room. Not the big open room with vending machines and children playing that you see in movies. A smaller room, private, a table, 2 chairs, a guard outside the door. And then Ashley walked in. I almost didn't recognize her. She'd lost weight, maybe 15 pounds. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, no makeup, wearing standard prison khakis. She looked younger somehow. More like the Ashley I remembered from college than the polished marketing professional who'd brought Derek to Sunday dinner. "Mom," she said, stopping in the doorway, uncertain, scared. "Sit down, Ashley." She sat, folded her hands on the table. I could see her trembling. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. "What do you say to your daughter who tried to kill you? What does she say to the mother she betrayed?" "Thank you for coming," Ashley finally said. "I didn't think you would." "I almost didn't." "I don't blame you. I wouldn't come either if I were you." More silence. Then I said, "Tell me about Richard Chen." Ashley closed her eyes. "I didn't know Derek was going to kill him. I swear I didn't know until it was done. Richard started investigating the embezzling again 6 months after I left the firm. He'd never believed the story about it being him, never accepted it. He hired a private investigator. Derek found out. Derek told me Richard was getting too close, asking too many questions. I told Derek to just let it go. We'd moved on. It didn't matter anymore. But Derek didn't let it go. And 2 weeks later, Richard was dead. Hit and run. Derek told me over dinner like he was talking about the weather. Richard Chen won't be a problem anymore. I asked what he meant. He smiled and said, "Car accident. So tragic. But now we're safe." He said it like he'd done me a favor, like he'd taken out the trash. Her voice broke. Tears streamed down her face. I should have gone to the police right then. Should have confessed everything, told them what Derek did. But I was terrified. Derek said, if I ever told anyone he'd kill you, he'd make it look like an accident, and I'd have to live knowing I got my own mother killed. So I stayed quiet. I let Richard's family think it was just a hit and run. I let a murderer go free because I was a coward. And then Derek decided to kill me too. He'd been planning it for months. I realize that now. The whole relationship was a con. He researched you before we even met, Mom. Found out Dad died, found out you inherited everything. Found out I was vulnerable and alone and stupid. He targeted me specifically to get to you. I felt sick. When he first brought up the cruise idea, he made it sound romantic, a family trip, bonding time. But then piece by piece, he revealed the real plan. We'd get you alone on the deck late at night, push you overboard, claim you'd been drinking, wandered out there yourself, must have fallen. The ship would search but never find you. Sharks, current, the ocean is big, and we'd inherit everything. Except I'd changed my will, which Derek didn't know. Neither did I. So we would have killed you for nothing. The starkness of that statement hung between us. Ashley, why didn't you tell me before the cruise, before any of this? Why didn't you just tell me the truth about Derek, about the embezzling, ask for help? She looked at me with eyes so full of pain I had to look away. Because I was ashamed. Because I'd disappointed Dad by dropping out of his business school scholarship to do marketing. Because I'd disappointed you by getting engaged to someone you didn't really like. Because I'd made mistake after mistake and I didn't want you to know how badly I'd failed. You and Dad were so perfect, built this perfect life, and I was just the screw-up daughter who couldn't get anything right. Perfect, Ashley, we weren't perfect. Your father worked himself to death, literally. We fought about money, about time, about priorities. We made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Not like mine. Not embezzling and attempted murder. No, I admitted. Not like that. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. Agent Reeves said if I testify against Derek, they might reduce my sentence, that I could get out in 6 years with good behavior. That's what they told me. I don't deserve it, Mom. I don't deserve any break. But I want Derek to pay for what he did. Not just to us, to Richard. To that woman Marcus told you about. To whoever else he's hurt. Derek needs to be in prison for the rest of his life. Even if it means testifying publicly about your own crimes, adding years to your sentence for the embezzling confession. Even then, especially then, it's the only way to make sure he never gets out. I studied my daughter's face, looking for the lie, looking for the manipulation, looking for any sign this was just another con. But all I saw was exhaustion, regret, and something that looked like genuine remorse. The FBI wants a full statement, every detail about Derek, every crime you know about suspect or heard him mention, everything. I'll give it to them, all of it. And you'll testify at his appeal hearing. Face his lawyers, his family. They'll destroy you on the stand, Ashley. They'll call you a liar, a gold digger, a manipulator. They'll make you look like the villain. I am the villain, Mom. I tried to kill you. Nothing they say about me will be worse than the truth. I took a deep breath. Agent Reeves also said the prosecution might want me to testify about the cruise, about Derek's behavior leading up to it, about how I felt when I realized my daughter was trying to murder me. Ashley flinched like I'd slapped her. I don't know if I can do that, I continued. Stand up there and talk about you like you're a stranger, like you're just a criminal instead of my child. You should do it. You should tell them everything. How I betrayed you, how I hurt you, how I destroyed our family. They should know. Why, so they'll hate you more. So they'll understand what Derek is capable of. If he could turn me into someone who'd kill her own mother, what else can he do? Who else will he manipulate and destroy? The guard knocked on the door. 5 minutes. Ashley looked at me desperately. Mom, I know I can never fix what I did. I know you'll never forgive me and you shouldn't. But please help me stop him. Help me make sure Derek Morrison never hurts anyone ever again. It's the only good thing I can do with the rest of my life. I thought about Robert, about the man who'd worked 60-hour weeks to build something meaningful, about his belief that we're defined by what we build, not what we inherit, about his insistence that the measure of a person is what they do when they've failed. Your father used to say that architecture is about making things right. You start with a mistake, a bad foundation, a crooked wall, and you figure out how to fix it, how to make it stand anyway. Ashley's eyes filled with fresh tears. I don't know if we can fix this, Ashley. I don't know if our relationship will ever be what it was, but maybe we can make it stand. Maybe we can build something from the rubble. You'll help me. I'll help you stop Derek. After that, we'll see. The guard opened the door. Time's up. Ashley stood, hesitated, then said quietly, I love you, Mom. I never stopped loving you. Even when I was doing terrible things, even when I'd lost my way completely, I never stopped loving you. I couldn't say it back. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I nodded, and that was something. The drive back to Boston took 8 hours because I had to pull over twice to cry. Once in a rest stop parking lot. Once on the shoulder of a highway, semis roaring past the world moving on while I fell apart. When I got home, Joseph was waiting on my porch. Well, he asked, call Agent Reeves. Tell her Ashley will cooperate fully, and tell her I'll testify too, whatever they need. Over the next 4 weeks, I gave 3 separate statements to the FBI, each one longer and more detailed than the last. Every conversation with Derek I could remember, every change in Ashley's behavior, every warning sign I'd ignored. They asked about the apartment conversation I'd overheard. I recounted it word for word. They asked about the Sunday dinner when Ashley demanded $200,000. I walked them through every terrible moment. They asked how I felt when I realized my daughter wanted me dead. I told them the truth, that it felt like dying, like grief worse than losing Robert, like the end of everything that mattered. Catherine Park, the prosecutor, listened to hours of testimony and recordings. Then she looked at me with something like sympathy. Mrs. Chen, Derek's lawyers are going to claim you entrapped him, that you dangled your money and manipulated Ashley and Derek into this conspiracy. They'll say you're a vindictive old woman who couldn't handle her daughter's independence. Let them say it. They'll make this ugly. It's already ugly. Let's just make sure Derek stays in prison. Ashley gave her statement over 2 days. I wasn't there, but Joseph told me she held nothing back. The embezzling, the blackmail, Richard Chen's murder, every crime Derek had ever mentioned, every threat, every manipulation. And she gave them something else, something even the FBI hadn't known. Derek had a storage unit in New Hampshire, rented under a fake name, where he kept insurance on all his crimes, photographs, documents, recordings, evidence he'd used to blackmail anyone who tried to cross him. The FBI raided it 3 days before Derek's appeal hearing. What they found made national news. The storage unit contained 17 boxes of evidence spanning 8 years, photographs of unconscious women, bank statements showing mysterious transfers, recordings of phone calls where Derek discussed eliminating problems, documents proving he'd framed at least 4 people for crimes they didn't commit, and a leather-bound journal where he'd written everything down like he was proud of it. Agent Reeves called me at 6 a.m. the day after the raid. "Mrs. Chen, you need to turn on the news." I grabbed the remote. Every channel was covering the same story. Derek Morrison, already convicted of attempted murder, was now linked to 7 additional felonies, including conspiracy to commit murder in the death of Richard Chen. The press had gotten hold of excerpts from the journal. Derek had written about me specifically, about how he'd researched Robert's death, studied the estate paperwork, calculated my net worth down to the dollar. He'd written about meeting Ashley, about how easy she'd been to manipulate, about how weak and desperate she'd seemed. "The daughter is perfect," one entry read. "Guilty about something, afraid of disappointing mommy, and greedy enough to go along with anything if I push the right buttons. Getting to the old woman's money will be like taking candy from a baby." I read that on my laptop screen and wanted to throw up again, but it got worse. Another entry dated 3 weeks before the cruise. "Backup plan: if Ashley grows a conscience, eliminate her too. Make it look like murder-suicide. Grieving daughter kills mother for inheritance, can't live with guilt, jumps overboard herself. Nobody questions it. I walk away with everything through the will I forged last month, naming me as Ashley's beneficiary." Derek had planned to kill us both. My phone rang constantly that day. Joseph, Marcus, Agent Reeves, Catherine Park, even old friends I hadn't spoken to in years calling to make sure I was okay, to express their horror, to say they'd always known Derek was wrong. "Where were you 2 years ago?" I wanted to scream. "Where were you when I needed someone to tell me I wasn't crazy for not trusting him?" But I just thanked them and said I was fine. The appeal hearing was moved up to emergency status. The judge wanted to address the new evidence immediately. Derek's lawyers tried to block it, claiming the storage unit search was illegal, but the warrant was airtight. Ashley had given them the location and the fake name. Everything was admissible. I sat in the courtroom 3 days later next to Joseph, watching Derek being led in wearing an orange jumpsuit and chains. He looked thinner than I remembered. Prison hadn't been kind to him. Gone was the slick hedge fund analyst with the perfect hair and expensive suits. This Derek had hollow eyes and a week's worth of stubble, and the kind of rage that radiated off him like heat. His eyes found mine across the courtroom. He smiled. Actually, smiled, like this was all a game and he was still winning. I looked away first, hated myself for it. The judge, a severe woman in her 60s named Barbara Kowalski, reviewed the new evidence for 20 minutes in silence. Then she looked up at Derek. "Mr. Morrison, your appeal claimed you were manipulated by Ms. Chen into the conspiracy to murder her mother. that you were coerced, that you were not the primary actor. Would you like to revise that claim given the evidence from your storage unit? Derek's lawyer, a shark named Thomas Brennan, who probably cost $5,000 an hour, stood quickly. Your Honor, we maintain that this evidence was obtained through an illegal search based on the testimony of a convicted felon who has every reason to lie about my client. The search warrant was signed by a federal judge based on credible testimony and corroborated by multiple witnesses, Judge Kowalski said flatly. The evidence is admissible. I'll ask again, Mr. Morrison, do you want to revise your appeal? Derek leaned over to whisper to his lawyer. Brennan shook his head. More whispering. Finally, Derek sat back, arms crossed, jaw tight. My client maintains his innocence, Your Honor. Very well. Ms. Park, call your first witness. Catherine stood, smoothed her suit jacket. The prosecution calls Margaret Chen. My legs felt like water walking to the witness stand. The bailiff swore me in. I put my hand on the Bible and promised to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. I'd been telling the truth for 3 months. What was a few more hours? Catherine started gently. Background questions. How did I meet Derek? What was my first impression? When did I start to suspect something was wrong? I answered carefully, aware of Derek's eyes boring into me from the defense table. Then Catherine said, Mrs. Chen, can you describe the conversation you overheard in your daughter's apartment? I recounted it word for word, Derek's voice saying I was sitting on a fortune. Ashley agreeing they needed to be patient. Derek suggesting they help me see I should give them money now. And how did that conversation make you feel betrayed, frightened, like my daughter had become a stranger? Did you confront them about it? No, I was afraid. Afraid of what it meant. Afraid I was wrong, afraid I was right. Catherine walked me through the Sunday dinner where Ashley demanded $200,000, the way Derek had looked at me. The cold calculation in his eyes. Then she asked about the cruise. When Ashley suggested the cruise, did you want to go? No, every instinct told me not to go. But you went anyway. Why? Because she was my daughter. Because I wanted to believe she still loved me. Because I thought maybe I'd been wrong about everything. When did you learn about Derek's plan to murder you? I told them about Marcus Webb, about the coffee shop conversation, about seeing the text messages where Derek joked about accidents on cruise ships. What did you do when you saw those messages? I contacted the FBI. Why not just cancel the cruise? Because Marcus said Derek had been planning this for months. If I canceled, he'd just try again differently. I wanted to stop him, permanently. Brennan objected twice during my testimony. Judge Kowalski overruled him both times. Then Catherine asked the question I'd been dreading. Mrs. Chen, on the night of the attempted murder, you were standing on the observation deck with your daughter and Derek Morrison. Can you describe what happened? I closed my eyes, opened them, looked right at Derek. Derek positioned himself behind me, very close, too close. I could feel him there. His hand came up toward my back, and Ashley was watching, just watching, not stopping him, not warning me, just waiting for him to push. What were you thinking in that moment? That I was going to die, that my daughter was going to watch me die and do nothing, that I'd failed as a mother so completely that my own child wanted me dead. My voice broke. I hated that it broke, hated showing weakness in front of Derek. But Catherine just nodded, gave me a moment, then continued. And then what happened? The FBI arrested them. Lights everywhere. Agents. It was over. How did Derek react to being arrested? He was angry, shocked, but not remorseful, not guilty, just angry he'd been caught. Catherine sat down. Brennan stood up for cross-examination. Mrs. Chen, isn't it true you showed your daughter fake documents claiming she was your sole beneficiary? Yes. So you lied to her? Yes. You deliberately deceived her to entrap her into committing a crime. I gave her every opportunity to walk away, to tell me the truth, to not try to kill me. She chose to go through with it. You manipulated the situation. I protected myself. You could have simply told your daughter you'd changed your will. That would have ended the whole plot. Or it would have made Derek try harder, try differently, maybe hurt Ashley too when she became a liability. Brennan smiled like he'd scored a point. So you admit you were thinking about protecting Ashley even after learning she planned to kill you? She's my daughter. Of course I was thinking about protecting her, even when she didn't deserve it. That shut him up for a second. He tried a different angle. Mrs. Chen, you and your daughter have had a complicated relationship, haven't you? She didn't follow in your husband's footsteps. She chose marketing over architecture. She moved out young. There was tension. Every parent and adult child have tension. That's normal. Is it normal to suspect your child of wanting to kill you? Is it normal for your child to actually try to kill you? Because that's what happened. Whatever you want to say about our relationship, whatever tension existed, my daughter and your client conspired to murder me. The FBI has recordings, text messages, eyewitness testimony, journal entries where your client planned the whole thing. Those are facts. Brennan's jaw tightened. No further questions. I stepped down, legs shaking, and returned to my seat next to Joseph. You did great, he whispered. I didn't feel great. I felt exhausted. The prosecution called Ashley next. I hadn't seen her since Kentucky. She looked even thinner now, even more fragile. She kept her eyes down as she walked to the stand, didn't look at me or Derek or anyone. Catherine started the same way. Background, timeline. How did you meet Derek? Ashley's voice was steady, but quiet. We met at a networking event. He approached me, said he'd heard I worked in marketing, asked if I'd be interested in consulting for his firm. It seemed professional at first. When did it become romantic? About 2 weeks later. He asked me to dinner, said he couldn't stop thinking about me. It felt fast, but I was lonely after my father died. I wanted to feel something other than grief. When did he first mention your mother's money? Maybe a month into dating. He asked about my family. I mentioned my mom had inherited everything from my dad. He seemed very interested in the details. How much, what kind of assets was it tied up in trusts? I thought he was just making conversation. When did you realize he was more than interested? Ashley's hands twisted in her lap. When he started pushing me to ask my mom for money, small amounts at first, for the wedding, then bigger amounts, for the house. He'd get angry if I said no. He'd say I was choosing my mother over him, over our future together. Catherine let that sit. Then, Ms. Morrison tell the court about the embezzling. Ashley did. Every detail. The $75,000. Derek's fake investment. The money disappearing. Her boss Richard's investigation. And what did Derek do when Richard Chen started investigating again? He killed him. Ashley's voice was flat. Dead. He told me Richard was getting too close and he'd taken care of it. When I saw the news about the hit and run, I knew. I knew what Derek had done. Why didn't you go to the police? Because Derek said if I did, he'd kill my mother. He said he'd make it look like an accident, and I'd have to live with knowing I'd gotten her killed. I believed him. After Richard, I knew Derek was capable of anything. Tell the court about the cruise plan. Ashley took a shaky breath. Derek said we were going to celebrate with my mom, bond as a family. But then piece by piece he told me the real plan. We'd wait until late at night, get her alone on the observation deck and push her overboard. He said it would look like an accident. Old woman drinking on a cruise, leaning too far over the rail, falling. Happens all the time. What was your response? I said no. I said I couldn't do it. I wouldn't. But you went on the cruise anyway. Because Derek said if I didn't, he'd do it himself and make sure my mother suffered. He said he'd already paid someone on the crew. It was happening whether I helped or not. At least if I was there, he said I could make sure it was quick. The courtroom was silent. Even the court reporter had stopped typing. Catherine's voice was gentle now. Ashley, on that observation deck, when Derek was positioning himself to push your mother overboard, what were you thinking? That I was a monster, that I'd destroyed everything, that my mother deserved better than a daughter like me. Tears streamed down Ashley's face. I wanted to stop him. I was about to grab him, pull him back, scream for help. But then the FBI came. The lights, the arrest, and I was grateful. I was so grateful they stopped me from letting it happen. Why are you testifying today? Because Derek Morrison is a murderer. He killed Richard Chen. He planned to kill my mother. He planned to kill me too. I found that out from his journal. He was going to eliminate both of us and take everything. He needs to stay in prison for the rest of his life. Brennan's cross-examination was brutal. He called Ashley a liar, a manipulator, a gold digger who'd seduced Derek and dragged him into her schemes. He pointed out every inconsistency in her story, every time she'd changed details, every reason she had to blame Derek now. Ashley took it all, didn't fight back, just answered his questions honestly. Yes, I lied. Yes, I manipulated. Yes, I'm a terrible person. But Derek Morrison is worse. And if you let him out, he'll hurt people again. Maybe he'll hurt you, Mr. Brennan. Maybe he'll hurt your family, because that's what he does. He finds vulnerable people and destroys them. Brennan sat down fast. The prosecution rested. The defense called character witnesses. Derek's parents' older and wealthier versions of their son testified about what a good boy he'd always been. His friends from Wharton said he was brilliant and kind. His boss at the hedge fund said Derek was the best analyst he'd ever seen. Nobody mentioned the storage unit. Nobody mentioned the journal. Nobody mentioned the 7 other crimes. Then Derek took the stand. I'd been waiting for this. Wanted to hear what he'd say, what lies he'd spin. Brennan led him through a prepared statement. Derek claimed Ashley had approached him about killing me, that she'd been obsessed with the inheritance, that she'd threatened to claim he'd assaulted her if he didn't help, that everything, all of it, was Ashley's idea, and he'd just gone along because he was afraid of her. It was a master class in lying. Derek's voice was steady, convincing, earnest. If I hadn't known the truth, hadn't seen the evidence, I might have believed him. Then Catherine stood for cross-examination. Mr. Morrison, you claim Ms. Chen manipulated you into this conspiracy. Is that correct? Yes. You claim you were afraid of her. Yes. You, a man with an MBA from Wharton, a successful career, a wealthy family, were afraid of a 25-year-old woman. She threatened to ruin my life. Catherine smiled. Not a nice smile. Let's talk about your storage unit in New Hampshire. Can you explain why you had 17 boxes of evidence documenting various crimes? I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know about the storage unit rented under the name David Miller at Secure Space Storage in Portsmouth? No. Catherine pulled out a document. This is the rental agreement. It has your signature. That's not my signature. We had it analyzed by 3 handwriting experts. All 3 confirmed it's yours. Would you like to see their reports? Derek's jaw worked. I may have rented a storage unit. I don't remember what's in it. You don't remember keeping photographs of unconscious women, recordings of phone calls discussing murder, a journal where you wrote, and I quote, "Getting to the old woman's money will be like taking candy from a baby." That journal is fake. Ashley must have planted it. Ashley has been in prison for 3 months. She couldn't have planted anything. Try again. I want my lawyer. You have your lawyer. He's sitting right there. Answer the question, Mr. Morrison. Did you write those journal entries? No. Catherine pulled out another document. This is a forensic analysis of the journal. The paper is from a batch manufactured in 2022. The ink is from a specific type of pen you purchased 12 of from Staples in March 2023. We have the receipt. The handwriting matches yours. Every entry is dated and corroborated by external evidence. Phone records, bank statements, witness testimony. So I'll ask again. Did you write those journal entries? Derek said nothing. Did you kill Richard Chen? Nothing. Did you plan to kill Margaret Chen? Nothing. Did you plan to kill Ashley Morrison after you killed her mother? Derek's face went red. That's absurd. Is it? Because you wrote in your journal dated April 15th, 3 weeks before the crew's backup plan, if Ashley grows a conscience, eliminate her too. Murder-suicide. I walk away with everything. Those are your words, Mr. Morrison. I was joking. It was a creative writing exercise. A creative writing exercise that coincidentally matches exactly what you attempted to do on that cruise ship. I didn't attempt anything. The FBI entrapped me. The FBI stopped you from committing murder. There's a difference. Catherine walked back to her table, picked up a thick folder. I have here sworn statements from 7 different women claiming you drugged and assaulted them. 4 former business associates claiming you framed them for financial crimes. 3 ex-girlfriends who say you blackmailed and threatened them. And 1 dead man, Margaret Chen, whose family has been searching for justice for 2 years. All of this connects to you, Mr. Morrison. All of it. Those people are lying. All of them, every single person. Yes. Or maybe you're lying. Maybe you're exactly what the evidence shows you are. A predator, a manipulator, a murderer who's been getting away with it because of your family's money and connections, but not anymore. Catherine sat down. Brennan tried redirect, but the damage was done. Derek's testimony had fallen apart. Judge Kowalski called a recess. We had 2 hours before closing arguments. I went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face, stared at myself in the mirror. I looked older than I had 3 months ago, grayer, more tired. This whole thing had aged me. But I was still here, still standing, still fighting. When I came out, Joseph was waiting with coffee. "You okay?" "I will be, when this is over." Catherine destroyed him on the stand. Even his own lawyer looked uncomfortable. "Do you think the judge will deny the appeal? After what we just saw?" "Yes. But more than that, I think the prosecution will file new charges for Margaret Chen's murder. Derek's not getting out, Margaret. Not in 5 years, not in 20 years. He's going to die in prison." I should have felt relieved, triumphant even. But I just felt empty. Closing arguments were quick. Brennan tried to salvage Derek's defense, claiming the journal was fabricated. The witnesses were unreliable. His client was innocent. But his heart wasn't in it. Even he didn't believe it anymore. Catherine's closing was powerful. She laid out the evidence piece by piece, the journal entries, the storage unit, the murdered business partner, the attempted murder on the cruise ship, the conspiracy to kill Ashley, too. Derek Morrison is a predator who has spent his entire adult life hurting people and escaping consequences, she said, looking directly at the judge. He targeted Margaret Chen and her daughter because he thought they were easy marks. He thought he could manipulate, steal, and murder his way to millions of dollars. He was wrong. The evidence is overwhelming. The testimony is clear. Derek Morrison needs to stay in prison for the rest of his natural life. Judge Kowalski took 15 minutes to deliberate, 15 minutes that felt like 15 hours. Then she returned. "I've reviewed all evidence presented today. I've heard testimony from multiple witnesses. I've examined the contents of Mr. Morrison's storage unit and journal. I've considered the arguments from both sides." She looked at Derek with pure contempt. "Mr. Morrison, your appeal is denied. Your original sentence of 20 years stands. Additionally, I'm recommending the District Attorney's Office file additional charges related to the murder of Margaret Chen and the conspiracy to commit murder against Ashley Morrison. You are remanded to federal custody. This court is adjourned." The gavel came down. Derek exploded. Started screaming at the judge, at Catherine, at Ashley. Security had to drag him out of the courtroom, still screaming, still raging. I watched him go and felt nothing. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Cameras everywhere. Catherine made a brief statement about justice being served. Joseph hustled me to his car before anyone could shove a microphone in my face. "Do you want to go home?" he asked. "No. Take me to visit Ashley." "Margaret, you don't have to do that today. You've been through enough. Take me to Ashley, please." The drive to the correctional facility took 2 hours. Joseph waited in the car while I went inside, went through security again, waited in the visiting room again. Ashley came in looking exhausted. She'd watched the hearing on closed-circuit television from prison. "He's staying in prison," I said. "I know. I saw. They're going to charge him with Richard's murder, probably a dozen other crimes too." "Good." We sat in silence for a moment. Then Ashley said quietly, "Thank you for testifying, for helping me stop him. I didn't do it for you. I did it to stop Derek from hurting anyone else." "I know, but thank you anyway." More silence. Then I heard myself say, "I spoke to the warden. They said with good behavior and your cooperation in Derek's prosecution, you could be up for parole in 6 years. Ashley looked at me with shock. "You spoke to the warden." "Joseph did, on my behalf." "Why would you do that?" Because your father would have wanted me to, because despite everything, you're still my daughter, because maybe 6 years is enough time for you to figure out who you want to be when you get out. Tears streamed down Ashley's face. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve any kindness from you. No, you don't. But I'm giving it anyway. Not because you've earned it, because I choose to. Because holding on to hate and rage is destroying me, and I'm tired of being destroyed. I'll spend every day of the next 6 years trying to be someone worthy of that choice. Don't do it for me. Do it for yourself. Do it for your father. Do it because being Derek's victim doesn't excuse what you did, but it explains it. And now you get to decide who you become next. Ashley nodded, unable to speak. The guard knocked. Time was up. As I stood to leave, Ashley said, Mom, do you think maybe someday you could forgive me? I looked at my daughter. Really looked at her. Saw the girl who used to dance in the kitchen while I made breakfast. The teenager who'd cried on my shoulder after her first heartbreak. The young woman who'd held my hand at her father's funeral. And I saw the person who'd stood on that deck and watched Derek prepare to kill me. Both were true. Both were my daughter. I don't know, I said honestly, but maybe someday I can try. It wasn't much. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. And sometimes something is enough. I drove home alone as the sun set over Massachusetts. The trees were full autumn now, blazing orange and red and gold. Robert's favorite time of year. At home, I poured myself a scotch, sat on the back porch, and watched the last light fade from the sky. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Saw the news. Derek's appeal denied. How are you holding up? I typed back. I'm okay. For the first time in months, I'm actually okay. Another text, this one from Agent Reeves. Justice served today. You should be proud. Was I proud? I wasn't sure. Relieved, maybe. Exhausted, definitely. But proud, I thought about Ashley's question. Could I forgive her someday? The truth was, I didn't know. The wound was too fresh, too deep. Maybe time would help. Maybe therapy would help. Maybe nothing would help, and I'd carry this pain for the rest of my life. But I was still here, still breathing, still standing on my own deck, looking at my own sky. Derek had tried to take everything from me. My money, my life, my daughter. He'd failed. I finished my scotch, went inside, and locked the doors. Tomorrow I'd start rebuilding. Figure out what came next, how to fill the empty spaces in my life. But tonight, I just needed to sit with the knowledge that I'd survived, that I'd fought back, that I'd won. It wasn't the happy ending I'd imagined for my life. It wasn't the future Robert and I had planned, but it was mine, and nobody could take that away. 3 weeks after the hearing, Derek's family came after me. I was at the grocery store loading bags into my trunk when a black Mercedes pulled up beside me. A woman in her 60s stepped out wearing a Chanel suit and enough jewelry to fund a small country. Derek's mother, Victoria Morrison. Margaret Chen, she said. Not a question. A statement. Mrs. Morrison, we need to talk. I don't think we have anything to discuss. My son is innocent. You and that lying little tramp of a daughter destroyed him. I closed my trunk slowly, deliberately, turned to face her fully. Your son kept a storage unit full of evidence documenting his crimes. He murdered a man. He tried to murder me. He planned to murder my daughter. Those are facts, Mrs. Morrison, not opinions. Those are lies planted by Ashley to save herself. She manipulated my Derek from the beginning. Seduced him, used him, and when it went wrong, she blamed everything on him. Your Derek wrote everything down in a journal, in his own handwriting, forensically verified. Victoria stepped closer, voice dropping to a hiss. You destroyed my family. My son is facing life in prison because of you, but you're not going to get away with this. Is that a threat? It's a promise. The Morrisons have connections, Mrs. Chen, powerful connections. We will make your life hell. We will sue you for defamation, for entrapment, for emotional distress. We will tie you up in court for years until you've spent every penny of that precious inheritance defending yourself. I should have been scared, should have backed down, but I'd already faced death on a cruise ship. What was a lawsuit compared to that? Do what you need to do, Mrs. Morrison, but your son is a predator and a murderer, and all the money in the world won't change that. Now get away from my car." She glared at me, then climbed back into her Mercedes and drove off. I made it home before I started shaking. Joseph arrived 30 minutes later. I'd called him from the car, hands trembling on the steering wheel. "She can't do anything," Joseph said, sitting across from me at the kitchen table. "They have no case. Derek was convicted with overwhelming evidence. But she said they'd sue me anyway, tie me up in court for years. Let them try. We'll countersue for harassment. Margaret, the Morrisons are desperate. Their golden boy is going to prison forever. They're lashing out because they have no other options." What if they come after Ashley? She's vulnerable in prison. Ashley's in protective custody because of her cooperation. Nobody can touch her. And honestly, the Morrisons suing would just bring more attention to Derek's crimes. Their lawyers are probably already telling them to shut up and disappear. I wanted to believe him, but Victoria Morrison's eyes had been full of hate, pure hate. That night I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow looked like someone lurking. I checked the locks 3 times, set the alarm, kept my phone next to the bed. At 2 a.m. it rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Margaret Chen. A man's voice. Deep, unfamiliar. "Who is this?" "Someone who knows the truth about Derek Morrison. We need to meet." "I'm not meeting anyone. Tell me who you are or I'm hanging up." "My name is James Thornton. I was Derek's roommate at Wharton. I have information about him that could help put him away for good, but I can't talk on the phone. It's not safe." "Not safe from who?" "From the people Derek works for, the people who've been protecting him all these years. Meet me tomorrow 10 a.m. at the coffee shop on Newberry Street. Come alone. Tell no one." He hung up before I could respond. I sat there in the dark phone in my hand, mind racing. Was this legitimate, or was it a setup by the Morrisons? Some kind of trap I called Agent Reeves. Didn't care that it was 2 in the morning. "Someone just called claiming to have information about Derek," I said. "James Thornton. Says he was Derek's roommate at Wharton." I heard her typing. "James Thornton did attend Wharton same time as Derek. They were roommates sophomore year. Hold on." More typing. Then, "Mrs. Chen, James Thornton died 3 years ago. Car accident in Connecticut." My blood went cold. "Someone's using his name. It's a trap. Don't go anywhere near that coffee shop. I'm sending a patrol car to your house right now." The patrol car sat outside my house all night. The next morning, Agent Reeves came by with coffee and a grim expression. "We traced the call. Burner phone used once, already destroyed. Whoever called you knew exactly what they were doing." "The Morrisons." "Probably. But we can't prove it. Margaret, I need you to be very careful. The Morrison family has a long history of making problems disappear. Lawsuits, scandals, even people who threaten their interests. Are you saying they'd try to hurt me? I'm saying they have the resources and connections to try. You need security. Private security, not just local police." "I can't afford private security." Agent Reeves pulled out a business card. "Call this number. Tell them I sent you. They specialize in protecting witnesses in high-profile cases. The FBI will cover part of the cost." I looked at the card. Sentinel Protection Services. It felt surreal. I needed bodyguards now, because I'd tried to stop my daughter from murdering me and testified against her accomplice. This was my life now. Marcus called that afternoon. "I heard about Victoria Morrison confronting you. Are you okay?" Define okay. Fair point. Listen, I did some digging. The Morrisons have been involved in at least a dozen lawsuits over the past 20 years. Every single one settled out of court with NDAs. People who crossed them tend to disappear from public life. That's not ominous at all. I'm serious, Margaret. These people are dangerous. Not Derek dangerous, but powerful dangerous. They can make your life miserable without ever breaking the law. So what do? You fight back, you go public, you tell your story before they can spin it their way, control the narrative. Go public, how? Media, interviews. There are 3 major news outlets that have been trying to reach you for weeks. Talk to them. Tell them everything. Make it impossible for the Morrisons to paint you as the villain." I'd been avoiding media, didn't want to relive the trauma in front of cameras, didn't want to become a spectacle. But Marcus was right. Silence would let the Morrisons control the story. I called Catherine Park. "If I do media interviews, will it hurt Derek's upcoming trial for Richard Chen's murder?" "Actually, it might help. Public awareness of Derek's pattern of behavior could pressure the system to take it more seriously. Just don't discuss specific evidence we haven't made public yet." "What about Ashley? Will it hurt her parole chances?" "Ashley's cooperation is already documented. As long as you're honest about her role and her remorse, it shouldn't affect her negatively." That evening, I called the number for a producer at 60 Minutes who'd left me 5 voicemails. "Mrs. Chen," she said, audibly excited. "Thank you so much for calling back. We'd love to tell your story. The woman who survived her daughter's murder plot, the corruption of a wealthy family, the FBI sting operation. It's compelling television." "I'm not doing this for television. I'm doing it because the Morrison family is trying to destroy me, and I won't let them." "Even better. America loves someone fighting back against the powerful. When can you come to New York?" The interview was scheduled for 3 days later. Joseph arranged for the Sentinel protection agent to accompany me. His name was Davis. Former Marine, 6'4", looked like he could bench press a car. He didn't talk much, but his presence was reassuring. The 60-minute studio was smaller than I expected. The interviewer was Laura Chen, no relation a journalist I'd admired for years. She shook my hand warmly. "Thank you for trusting us with your story, Margaret. I promise we'll treat it with the respect it deserves." The interview lasted 3 hours. Laura asked everything. How I first suspected something was wrong. The overheard conversation, Marcus's warning, the FBI operation, the arrest, Derek's journal, Ashley's testimony, the Morrison family's threats. "How do you feel about your daughter now?" Laura asked gently. I'd been dreading this question. "I don't know," I said honestly. "Some days I hate her for what she did, for standing there and letting it happen. Other days I remember she's a victim too. Derek manipulated her, blackmailed her, trapped her. She made terrible choices, but she was also trapped. Do you think you'll ever forgive her?" "I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But I'm trying to find a way to live with what happened. That's all I can do. What do you want people to know about Derek Morrison?" I looked directly at the camera. Derek Morrison is a predator who spent his entire life hurting people and escaping consequences because his family is wealthy and connected. He murdered a man. He tried to murder me. He planned to murder my daughter too. And now his family is trying to intimidate me into silence because the truth makes them look bad. But I'm not going to be silent. Derek needs to stay in prison for the rest of his life, and the Morrisons need to accept that their son is a monster. Laura smiled. "That's powerful. Thank you, Margaret." The episode aired 2 weeks later. 20 million people watched. Within hours, my phone was ringing non-stop. Support from strangers, interview requests from other outlets, and messages from other women claiming Derek had hurt them too. 7 women came forward, 7 more victims. Women Derek had dated, worked with, interacted with over the years. All of them had stories. Assault, blackmail, threats, financial manipulation. Agent Reeves called. "Mrs. Chen, this is exactly what we needed. These women's testimonies corroborate everything Ashley said. It establishes a pattern. The prosecution can use this for Richard Chen's murder trial." "Will they have to testify?" "Some of them want to. They've been carrying this for years. Your interview gave them courage to speak up." I felt something shift inside me. Maybe good could come from this nightmare after all. Maybe telling my story could help others tell theirs. The Morrisons responded 3 days later with a press conference. Victoria and Derek's father, Howard, stood in front of cameras, looking appropriately devastated. Victoria spoke first. "Our family is heartbroken by the lies being spread about our son. Derek is innocent. He was manipulated by a disturbed young woman who wanted her mother's money. Margaret Chen and her daughter conspired to frame Derek because they needed someone to blame for their dysfunctional relationship. My son is a victim of a corrupt system and a vindictive woman. We will fight this injustice with everything we have. Howard added, we've hired a team of lawyers to investigate Margaret Chen's finances, her relationship with Ashley, and the FBI's conduct during this investigation. We believe there was misconduct at every level. Derek will be exonerated. It's just a matter of time. I watched the press conference at home with Joseph and Davis. They're delusional, Joseph said. They're desperate, I corrected. And desperate people are dangerous. I was right to be worried. The next day, a process server showed up at my door. The Morrisons were suing me for $50 million. Defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, conspiracy, fraud. The complaint was 70 pages long and completely insane. Joseph read it and laughed. Actually laughed. This is the worst legal document I've seen in 30 years of practice. No judge will take this seriously. They're just trying to intimidate you. It's working. Don't let it. We'll file a motion to dismiss. This will be thrown out before trial. But the lawsuit had the desired effect. Media started questioning my story. Conservative outlets ran segments about overzealous FBI stings and wealthy families destroyed by false accusations. Social media filled with people calling me a liar, a gold digger, a bad mother who drove her daughter to desperation. The harassment started online but quickly got worse. Someone posted my address. I started getting death threats in the mail, packages with dead animals, letters describing in graphic detail what they'd do to me. Davis hired 2 more security agents. My house became a fortress. You can't live like this forever, Marcus said during one of our phone calls. I don't plan to, but I'm not backing down either. Ashley called from prison. We talked monthly, now brief conversations where we tried to find our way back to something resembling a relationship. Mom, I saw the Morrisons' press conference. I'm so sorry, this is my fault. It's Derek's fault, and his family's fault, not yours. I could help. I could do another interview, tell people the truth about Derek again. No, you're in enough danger already. The Morrisons have resources. If they think you're actively working against them, they might try to hurt you in prison. I'm not afraid of them. Well, I am. I'm afraid for you. Just keep your head down, cooperate with the prosecution, and survive the next 6 years. That's all I want. I love you, Mom. It was the first time she'd said it since the arrest. The first time I didn't flinch hearing it. I know, sweetheart. I know. The hearing to dismiss the Morrisons' lawsuit was scheduled for early December. The courthouse was packed with media. The Morrisons showed up with 6 lawyers. I had Joseph. The judge, a no-nonsense man named Peter Walsh, read the complaint with increasing annoyance. Mr. Brennan, he said to the Morrisons' lead attorney, this lawsuit claims Mrs. Chen defamed your clients by telling the truth about their son's conviction. That's not defamation, that's called facts. Your Honor, Mrs. Chen made statements on national television impugning the character of the entire Morrison family. She said they were trying to intimidate her. Are you claiming they're not because you filed a $50 million nuisance lawsuit the day after her interview aired? That seems pretty intimidating to me. Brennan sputtered. The lawsuit has merit, Your Honor. The lawsuit is garbage. Motion to dismiss granted. Additionally, I'm sanctioning your clients $50,000 for filing a frivolous lawsuit clearly meant to harass the defendant. Anything else? Your Honor, we'd like to appeal. Appeal all you want. You'll lose. We're done here. The gavel came down. The Morrisons' lawsuit was dead. I walked out of that courthouse feeling lighter than I had in months. Joseph was grinning. $50,000 in sanctions. The judge basically called them idiots in open court. This is beautiful. Will they appeal? Probably, but they'll lose. Margaret, you won. You stood up to one of the wealthiest families in New England and you won. That night, I opened a bottle of Robert's best wine, sat on the back porch despite the December cold. Davis stood by the door, ever watchful, but gave me space. My phone rang. Unknown number again. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Margaret Chen. Who is this? My name is Rachel Morrison. I'm Derek's sister. I sat up straight. What do you want? To apologize. For my family. For Derek. For everything. Why would you apologize? Your family is suing me for $50 million. That lawsuit was my parents' idea. I told them it was stupid. I told them Derek is guilty and they need to accept it. They won't listen. But I wanted you to know not everyone in this family is insane. I didn't know what to say. Rachel continued, I've known about Derek for years. The assault allegations, the blackmail, the women he hurt. I tried to tell my parents, but they never believed me. He's their golden boy, their perfect son. They can't accept he's a monster. Why are you telling me this? Because I saw your interview. And I believe you. I believe Ashley. Derek is exactly what you said he is. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry my family has made this nightmare worse for you. I'm sorry you had to go through any of this. Her voice cracked. She was crying. Rachel, are you safe if your family finds out you called me? I don't care anymore. I'm tired of protecting Derek. Tired of keeping his secrets. He killed a man. He tried to kill you. He deserves to rot in prison, and I hope he does. Thank you for calling, for telling me this. Will you tell the FBI about my call, about what I know about Derek? Do you want me to? Yes. I want to testify. I want to tell them everything. Maybe it can help put Derek away for good. I gave her Agent Reeves's number. We talked for another 20 minutes. Rachel told me about growing up with Derek, watching him hurt people, watching their parents cover it up. She'd been carrying guilt for years. You're not responsible for your brother's actions, I told her. Maybe not, but I stayed silent. I let him get away with it because I was afraid of my family. That makes me complicit. Not anymore. You're speaking up now. That takes courage. After we hung up, I called Agent Reeves and told her everything. She promised to contact Rachel immediately. This is huge, Margaret. A family member testifying against Derek. That's credibility the defense can't attack. This could make the difference in the murder trial. 2 weeks later, Rachel gave a statement to the FBI. She told them about Derek bragging about drugging women, about him showing her photographs and laughing, about overhearing him on the phone arranging Richard Chen's death. The prosecution added her to their witness list. Christmas came and went quietly. I spent it alone except for Davis, who'd become something like a friend. We ordered Chinese food and watched old movies. It wasn't the Christmas I'd imagined, but it was peaceful. Ashley called on Christmas morning. Merry Christmas, Mom. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. I miss you. I miss home. I miss everything. I know. 5 more years. You can do this. They're moving me to a different facility, somewhere in Pennsylvania, closer to where Derek's trial will be. The prosecution wants me available to testify. When? Next week. I'm scared, Mom. What if something happens? What if the Morrisons? The Morrisons can't touch you. You'll be protected. And Ashley, you're doing the right thing, testifying against Derek, making sure he pays for what he did. I hope so. I hope something good comes from this nightmare. It already has. 7 other women came forward. Rachel Morrison is testifying against her own brother. You helped make that happen by telling the truth. It doesn't feel like enough. It's more than enough. It's everything. We talked for 30 more minutes, about nothing important, about memories, about the future, about hope. When we hung up, I realized something had shifted. I still couldn't say I'd forgiven Ashley. Maybe I never would. But I could talk to her without rage, could imagine a future where she was part of my life again in some capacity. That was progress. Small, painful progress, but progress nonetheless. Derek's trial for Richard Chen's murder was scheduled for February. The prosecution had built an overwhelming case: Derek's journal entries, Rachel's testimony, Ashley's cooperation, phone records, financial records, testimony from 7 other victims establishing pattern of behavior. Derek's lawyers tried every delay tactic: motions to exclude evidence, motions for change of venue, motions to dismiss based on pretrial publicity. All denied. The trial started on a cold February morning. I sat in the gallery next to Richard Chen's widow, Linda. She was a small woman in her 50s, worn down by grief and years of unanswered questions. "Thank you," she whispered to me, "for exposing Derek, for giving us a chance at justice." I'm so sorry about Richard. He didn't deserve what happened to him. None of us did. But at least now people know the truth. The prosecution's case was devastating. They showed Derek's journal entry dated 3 days before Richard's death. RC is becoming a problem. Too many questions. Need to eliminate the threat permanently. Make it look like accident. Hit and run late at night, no witnesses. They presented phone records showing Derek contacted a known criminal the day before Richard died. Financial records showing Derek paid this man $50,000 the day after. Then Rachel took the stand. She testified about overhearing Derek on the phone. He said, "Make sure it's quick, no suffering, but it has to look like an accident." Then he gave an address. Richard Chen's address. I looked it up later. The next day, Richard was dead. Derek's lawyer tried to discredit her. "You're testifying against your own brother. Why should we believe you?" "Because he's guilty. Because I'm tired of lying for him. Because Richard Chen deserved better than to be murdered by my sociopath brother." The courtroom gasped. Even the judge looked shocked. Ashley testified next, via video from prison. She told the jury about Derek confessing to Richard's murder, about him bragging about how easy it was, about him threatening to kill me if she told anyone. The defense had nothing. No witnesses, no evidence, no credible alternative theory, just empty denials and desperate attacks on the prosecution's witnesses. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty. First-degree murder. The sentence, life without possibility of parole. Derek would die in prison. Linda Chen collapsed in relief. Her family surrounded her crying, holding each other. 2 years of waiting for justice, finally over. I sat there feeling numb. It was over. Really over. Derek would never hurt anyone again. Outside the courthouse, media swarmed again. Catherine made a statement. Linda made a statement. Then someone pushed a microphone in my face. "Mrs. Chen, how do you feel about Derek Morrison being convicted?" "I feel relieved, grateful, and heartbroken for Richard Chen's family. They've been waiting so long for answers. I'm glad they finally have justice." "What about your daughter? Do you think she deserves a reduced sentence now?" "My daughter cooperated with law enforcement. She told the truth. She helped convict a murderer. Yes, I think that deserves consideration." "Have you forgiven her?" I looked directly at the camera. "I'm working on it. That's all I can say right now. I'm working on it." That night, I got a call from the warden at Ashley's facility. She'd been approved for early parole review. With her cooperation in 2 major criminal trials, her model behavior, and the nature of her coercion by Derek the parole board would consider releasing her in 4 years instead of 6. 4 years. Ashley could be home in 4 years. I didn't know how I felt about that, but I had 4 years to figure it out. I called Marcus with the news. "That's good, right?" he said. "You sound uncertain." "I am uncertain. 4 years isn't very long. Will she really be different? Will I really be ready to have her in my life again? You've got time to work through it. And Margaret, you've survived everything Derek threw at you. You survived your daughter's betrayal. You survived the Morrisons' harassment. You can survive figuring out forgiveness, too." When did you get so wise? When I met a 62-year-old woman who taught me what real courage looks like. After Marcus's call, I sat in Robert's study for hours staring at the photo on his desk. The 3 of us on Ashley's college graduation day. Robert's arm around Ashley's shoulders, both of them grinning. Me standing slightly apart, smiling, but already sensing something was off. Had I known even then, had some part of me recognized that my daughter was slipping away. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You think you've won, you haven't. Derek has friends, they're coming for you." I forwarded it to Agent Reeves immediately. She called back within minutes. "We're tracing it now. Margaret, I need you to take this seriously. Derek had connections to some very dangerous people. The man he hired to kill Richard Chen is still out there. We never caught him." "You think Derek would order a hit from prison?" "I think Derek is vindictive enough to try. I'm increasing your security detail. Davis stays, and I'm adding 2 more agents. And for how long? Until we're sure the threat is neutralized." That night, I barely slept. Every creak of the house made me jump. Davis did rounds every hour, checking windows, doors, the perimeter. At 3 a.m., I found him in the kitchen making coffee. "Can't sleep either," he asked, "not with death threats coming from prison." Davis poured me a cup. "Derek Morrison is locked in a Supermax facility. He can't make phone calls without them being monitored, can't send mail without it being read. Whatever threats are coming, they're desperate attempts to scare you. That's all." "It's working." "I know. But Margaret, you faced worse than empty threats. You survived an actual murder attempt. You faced down the FBI and the Morrison family and a national media circus. You're tougher than you think." "I don't feel tough. I feel tired." "Tired people don't fight like you fought. Tired people give up. You're still standing. That's not tired. That's strong." I wanted to believe him, but the fear was still there, coiled in my chest like a living thing. The next morning, Agent Reeves showed up with news. They'd traced the text to a burner phone purchased in New Hampshire, near where Derek's storage unit had been. The phone was destroyed immediately after the text was sent. Someone close to Derek sent that message. Someone who knew about the storage unit. We're looking at his known associates, people he worked with, family members. Rachel wouldn't do this. No, Rachel's been cooperating fully. But Derek has cousins, friends from Wharton business partners. We're investigating everyone. 2 days later, another message. "You destroyed a good man. You'll pay for it. Soon." Then nothing for a week. The silence was worse than the threats. Waiting, wondering, jumping at every shadow. Ashley called during this time. "Mom, I heard about the threats. I'm so sorry. This is because of me, because I testified." This is because Derek is a monster who won't accept he lost. Don't take responsibility for his evil. The warden told me something. Derek's been trying to contact me, sending letters through other inmates, trying to get them to pass messages. What kind of messages? Threats, promises, saying if I recant my testimony, if I say I lied, he'll make sure I'm safe. If I don't, he'll make sure I'm not. Did you report it? Immediately. They put Derek in solitary. But Mom, he's not going to stop. He's going to keep trying to hurt us any way he can. Let him try. He's in prison for life. What can he actually do? I don't know. That's what scares me. The answer came 3 weeks later. I was at the grocery store again, Davis trailing behind me when a woman approached. Mid-30s, professional looking, carrying a designer handbag. "Mrs. Chen, I'm Amanda Pierce. I'm a lawyer representing the Morrison Family Trust. I have nothing to say to you. Please just hear me out. The Morrison family wants to settle." That stopped me. Settle what their frivolous lawsuit was dismissed. Not a legal settlement, a personal one. They'd like to offer you $5 million in exchange for signing an NDA and ceasing all public statements about Derek Morrison. $5 million. More than I currently had, more than Robert had left me. They want to buy my silence. They want to move forward. Derek's in prison. The trials are over. Continuing to talk to media only hurts everyone involved, including Ashley. Sign the agreement, take the money, and everyone can start healing. Healing? Your client tried to murder me and my daughter. He did murder Richard Chen. He's hurt dozens of women. And you think $5 million makes that go away? Amanda's professional mask slipped slightly. "Mrs. Chen, $5 million is a generous offer for someone in your position. Your daughter is in prison. You're living under constant security because of death threats. Your life has become a nightmare. This money could help you start over somewhere safe, rebuild. Or it could help the Morrisons pretend their son isn't a monster. Tell them no. Tell them I'll keep telling the truth about Derek until the day I die, and no amount of money will change that." Amanda's expression hardened. "You're making a mistake. I've made plenty of mistakes. This isn't one of them." She left. Davis immediately called Agent Reeves. "The Morrisons are desperate," Agent Reeves said. "First threats, now bribes. They're running out of options." What happens when they run out of options completely? That's what I'm afraid of. That night I got another message. This one was different. Not a threat, an address, a location in South Boston, a warehouse district, and a time midnight tonight. "It's obviously a trap," Joseph said when I showed him. "Don't even think about going." I'm not thinking about going. I'm thinking about why they want me there. Agent Reeves assembled a tactical team. We'll stake out the location, see who shows up. Maybe we can finally catch whoever's behind these threats. At 11 p.m., I sat in my living room with Davis while FBI agents surrounded the warehouse in South Boston. Agent Reeves called every 30 minutes with updates. No movement yet. Wait, we've got a vehicle approaching. Black SUV, no plates. 2 individuals exiting. We're moving in. Then silence. 5 minutes. 10. 15. Finally, Agent Reeves called back. Margaret, you need to sit down. What happened? The 2 individuals were Derek's cousins, Thomas and Michael Morrison. They had weapons, zip ties, and a detailed plan for how to kidnap you from your home tonight. The warehouse was supposed to be where they'd hold you for ransom. My legs went weak. I sat down hard. Ransom. They were going to demand you recant your testimony and Ashley's testimony in exchange for your release. If you refused, they planned to kill you and make it look like you fled the country to escape prosecution for framing Derek. Prosecution, I didn't frame anyone. The Morrison family has been building a narrative. They hired private investigators, crafted false evidence, planned to file criminal charges against you. These cousins were supposed to kidnap you tonight while their lawyers filed charges tomorrow morning. Create chaos, discredit you, maybe get Derek's convictions overturned. That's insane. That's the Morrison family. But it's over now. Thomas and Michael are in custody. We got everything on tape, including them discussing Derek's instructions. He orchestrated this from prison using coded messages through his lawyers. We're filing additional charges against Derek and investigating his legal team for conspiracy. I sat there processing. Derek had been hours away from having me kidnapped. Maybe killed. All because I'd told the truth. Margaret, you can't go home tonight. We're taking you to a safe house until we're sure there aren't other Morrison associates planning something similar. The safe house was a nondescript apartment in Cambridge. 2 bedrooms, minimal furniture, bars on the windows. Davis and another agent stayed with me. I spent 3 days there watching news coverage of Thomas and Michael Morrison's arrest. The Morrison family released a statement denying knowledge of their relatives' actions, calling them rogue actors, claiming the family had nothing to do with the kidnapping plot. Nobody believed them. On day 4, Agent Reeves came to the safe house with update. Derek's lawyers have been disbarred and arrested. We found evidence they'd been passing messages for months helping Derek coordinate threats and the kidnapping. The Morrison family's legal team is imploding. Victoria and Howard are facing obstruction charges for paying the cousins and lawyers. Good. There's more. 3 other Morrison cousins came forward saying the family asked them to help with similar plans. They refused and reported it. The entire Morrison empire is collapsing. Business partners are fleeing. Their charitable foundation is under investigation. The family name is destroyed. All because they couldn't accept Derek as guilty. All because they couldn't accept responsibility. But Margaret, this means it's finally over. The threats, the harassment, all of it. The Morrison family is finished. You can go home. Going home felt surreal. The house looked the same but felt different, like I'd been gone for years instead of days. Davis helped me check every room, every lock, every window. Everything was secure. Do you still need security? I asked him. For a few more weeks, just to be safe. But honestly, the Morrison family has bigger problems than you now. They're fighting for their freedom. That night, Ashley called from prison. Mom, I heard what happened. I heard about the kidnapping plot. I can't believe they tried to hurt you again. But they didn't. The FBI stopped them. It's over, Ashley. Really over this time. I've been so scared. Scared they'd hurt you. Scared Derek would find a way to hurt me. Scared this nightmare would never end. It's ending. Derek's in solitary. His family is facing criminal charges. His cousins and lawyers are arrested. He has no power anymore. He's just a man in a cell, and that's where he'll stay forever. Ashley was quiet for a long moment. Then, Mom, my parole hearing is in 3 months. The board moved it up because of my cooperation and the threat level from the Morrison family. They think I might be safer on the outside with protection than in here where Derek's associates could reach me. 3 months. My daughter could be home in 3 months, not 4 years. How do you feel about that? I asked carefully. Terrified, hopeful, guilty, all of it at once. I don't know if I deserve to get out early. I don't know if I've earned it. The parole board will decide that, not you. But Ashley, if they do release you, what's your plan? Where will you go? What will you do? I was hoping I could come home, at least at first while I figure things out. I know that's asking a lot. I know you might not want me there, but I have nowhere else to go, Mom. No friends, no money, nothing. My daughter asking to come home, to the house where she'd plotted my murder with Derek, to the life she'd tried to destroy for money. Could I do that? Could I let her back in? Let's see what the parole board says first, I said. Then we'll figure it out. After we hung up, I walked through the house room by room, Robert's study where I'd decided to fight back, the kitchen where I'd had Sunday dinners with Ashley and Derek, the bedroom where I'd cried for hours after learning my daughter wanted me dead. So many memories, so much pain, but also so much survival, so much strength I didn't know I had. Marcus came over for dinner that week. We sat on the back porch despite the March cold, bundled in blankets drinking wine. Ashley's parole hearing is in 3 months, I told him. I heard. How do you feel about it? Honestly, I don't know. Part of me wants her home, wants a chance to rebuild something with her, but part of me is still so angry, still so hurt. How do you forgive someone for trying to kill you? Maybe you don't forgive them. Maybe you just learn to live with what happened. Maybe that's enough. Is it though? Is living with it enough? Marcus set down his wine glass. Can I tell you something about my mother? Of course. She had a stroke 2 years ago, couldn't speak, couldn't walk, needed round-the-clock care. I moved her into my place, hired nurses, did everything for her. And the whole time I was angry, because she'd been a terrible mother, alcoholic, neglectful, cruel sometimes. I spent my whole childhood taking care of her, and here I was doing it again as an adult. Did you ever forgive her? No. She died last year, and I still hadn't forgiven her. But I took care of her anyway. Not because she deserved it, because I wanted to be the kind of person who does the right thing even when it's hard, even when the other person doesn't deserve it. That's what made me feel at peace, Margaret. Not forgiveness, just knowing I'd done what I could live with. His words hit me hard. I didn't need to forgive Ashley to help her. I just needed to decide what kind of person I wanted to be. The next day I drove to Pennsylvania to visit Ashley. Face to face, no phone, no glass between us. The warden arranged a private room because of the security concerns. Ashley walked in looking healthier than she had in months. She'd gained weight. Her color was better. She looked more like herself. "Mom," she said, stopping in the doorway, "you came. We need to talk, really talk, about what happens if you get paroled." We sat across from each other at a small table. Ashley's hands were shaking. "I need to know the truth," I said. "All of it. No more lies, no more manipulation. If there's any chance of us rebuilding a relationship, I need complete honesty." "Okay. Did you love Derek ever? Or was it always just fear?" Ashley took a shaky breath. "At first I loved him. Or I thought I did. He was charming, successful, everything I thought I wanted. But by the time we got engaged, I didn't love him anymore. I was afraid of him. Afraid of what he'd do if I left. The embezzling gave him complete control over me. Everything after that was just survival." "When did you know he was planning to kill me?" 3 weeks before the cruise. He told me outright. Said we'd push you overboard, inherit your money, and live happily ever after. I told him I wouldn't do it. He showed me the evidence of my embezzling, and said if I didn't help, he'd send it to the police and kill you anyway. So I'd lose everything, and you'd still die. I thought if I went along, maybe I could find a way to stop it. Maybe I could warn you or sabotage the plan somehow. But you didn't warn me. I was too afraid, too weak, too selfish. I thought maybe at the last second I'd find courage, but when we were standing on that deck and Derek moved behind you, I froze. I just froze. If the FBI hadn't been there, I would have watched you die. That's the truth, Mom. I would have watched it happen because I was too much of a coward to stop it." Tears streamed down her face. "I hate myself for that. Every single day I hate myself. I wake up in this cell and I think, you almost let your mother die for money you weren't even going to get. How do you live with that? How do you forgive yourself? I don't know, I said honestly. Do you forgive yourself? No, I don't think I ever will. We sat in silence. Then I said, if you get paroled if you come home, we need rules, boundaries. You'll get therapy, real therapy. You'll get a job, any job, and work your way up like everyone else. You'll attend support groups for people who've been in abusive relationships. You'll volunteer, give back, do something meaningful with your second chance. I will. I'll do all of that, I promise. And you'll be patient with me, because I'm going to have bad days. Days where I can't look at you. Days where the anger comes back and I need space. Days where I remember that night on the cruise ship and I can't be around you. You'll have to accept that. I will. However long it takes, however many bad days, I'll accept it all. I'm not promising I'll ever fully forgive you, Ashley. I'm not promising we'll ever have the relationship we had before, but I'm willing to try, to see if we can build something new, something honest, even if it's not perfect. Ashley reached across the table. I let her take my hand. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for giving me a chance I don't deserve. Your father would have wanted me to. He always believed in second chances, in redemption, in building something from the rubble. I miss Dad so much. Me too, sweetheart. Every day. The parole hearing was scheduled for the first week of June. I testified on Ashley's behalf, explaining her cooperation, her remorse, the coercion she'd experienced from Derek. Catherine Park testified about how valuable Ashley's testimony had been in convicting Derek and exposing the Morrison family's criminal enterprise. Rachel Morrison testified too, explaining how Derek manipulated and controlled people, how Ashley had been one of many victims. The parole board deliberated for 2 hours. Then they called us back in. Ms. Morrison, the board chairwoman said, you committed a serious crime. You conspired to murder your own mother. Under normal circumstances, you would serve your full 12-year sentence. Ashley's face fell. However, these are not normal circumstances. You were blackmailed and threatened by a violent criminal. You cooperated fully with law enforcement. Your testimony helped convict a murderer and expose a criminal conspiracy. You've been a model prisoner. You've completed therapy and education programs, and your mother is willing to sponsor your release and provide housing and support. Ashley's hands gripped the table. After careful consideration, this board grants your parole effective immediately. You'll be subject to strict monitoring for the next 5 years. You'll wear an ankle monitor, attend regular check-ins with your parole officer, continue therapy, and maintain employment. Any violation will result in immediate return to prison. Do you understand these conditions? Yes, Ashley whispered. Yes, I understand. Thank you. Just like that, it was over. Ashley was free. We walked out of that hearing room together, Davis and another agent flanking us. Media swarmed, but we pushed through without comment. The drive back to Massachusetts took 4 hours. Ashley was quiet most of the way, staring out the window like she couldn't believe the world was still there. When we pulled up to the house in Wellesley, Ashley started crying. I never thought I'd see this place again, never thought I'd come home. This is home, I said, for as long as you need it. We went inside. The house felt different with Ashley in it. Fuller somehow, more complicated, but also more alive. That night we sat in the kitchen where we'd had so many Sunday dinners, where Ashley had demanded $200,000, where everything had started to fall apart. What happens now? Ashley asked. Now we figure it out, day by day. You'll start looking for work next week. I called a friend who runs a marketing firm. She's willing to interview you despite the record. You'll start therapy on Thursday, and we'll set up your room, get you settled, establish a routine. What about us? What about our relationship? We take it slow, we're honest. We don't pretend everything is fixed just because you're home. We work on it, together. Ashley nodded. I can do that. Over the next few months, we built something new. Not the relationship we'd had before, but something different. More honest, more careful, built on reality instead of illusions. Ashley got the job at the marketing firm, entry-level answering phones and filing, nothing glamorous. But she showed up every day, worked hard, didn't complain. She attended therapy twice a week and support groups for domestic violence survivors. She volunteered at a women's shelter on weekends. We had good days where we could talk and laugh and almost feel normal. And we had bad days where I couldn't be in the same room with her, where the memories were too strong and the pain too fresh. But we kept trying. Marcus became a regular presence in our lives. He and Ashley formed an unlikely friendship, bonded by their shared experience with Derek. He'd helped save my life by warning me. She'd helped put Derek away by testifying. They understood each other in a way I couldn't. 6 months after Ashley's release, we received word that Derek had been attacked in prison. Another inmate had stabbed him 17 times. He survived, but was left partially paralyzed. "Good," Ashley said when she heard. "He deserves worse." I didn't disagree. The Morrison family's legal troubles continued. Victoria and Howard were convicted of obstruction and conspiracy. They received 5 years each in federal prison. Their business empire crumbled. Their charitable foundation was dissolved. The family name, once synonymous with wealth and power, became synonymous with corruption and crime. Rachel Morrison reached out to us during this time. She'd started a foundation to help victims of wealthy predators, people who'd been hurt by those with power and resources, to escape justice. She asked Ashley to speak at events, share her story, help other victims understand they weren't alone. "I don't know if I can do that," Ashley said. "Stand up in front of people and talk about what I did." "It's not about what you did," Rachel explained. "It's about what Derek did. How he manipulated you, how the system almost let him get away with it. Your story could help someone else recognize the warning signs before it's too late." Ashley looked at me. "What do you think, Mom?" "I think telling your story might help you heal, and it might save someone else from going through what we went through, but only if you're ready." Ashley thought about it for a week, then she agreed. Her first speech was at a community center in Boston. About 30 people attended, mostly women who'd experienced abusive relationships or financial manipulation. Ashley stood at the podium, hands shaking, voice barely audible. "My name is Ashley Morrison. 3 years ago, I conspired to murder my mother for money. I was manipulated, blackmailed, and threatened by my abuser. But that's not an excuse. I made terrible choices. I hurt the person I loved most. And I have to live with that every day." She told her story. All of it. The embezzling, the blackmail, Derek's escalating control, the cruise ship, the arrest. The people in that room listened in silence. When she finished, a woman in the back stood up. "Thank you for sharing that. My boyfriend has been pressuring me to forge documents at my work. He says if I don't, he'll tell my family's secrets about my past. I've been afraid to say no. But hearing your story, I realize if I don't stop this now, it's going to get worse. I'm going to the police tomorrow." Ashley started crying. "Please do. Please don't make my mistakes. Don't let someone control you with fear." 3 other people came up after the speech, thanking Ashley, sharing their own stories. One woman said Ashley's honesty had given her courage to leave her abusive marriage. On the drive home, Ashley was quiet. Then she said, "I think I found my purpose, Mom, helping other people avoid what happened to us, warning them about people like Derek. Maybe that's how I make something good come from this nightmare." "I think your father would be proud of that." "Do you really think so?" "I know so. Robert always said the measure of a person isn't their mistakes. It's what they build after the mistakes. You're building something meaningful. That's what matters." A year after Ashley came home, we held a memorial service for Robert on what would have been his 62nd birthday. Just a small gathering. Joseph, Marcus, Rachel, a few of Robert's old colleagues from the architecture firm. We planted a tree in the backyard, a Japanese maple, his favorite. Ashley read a letter she'd written to her father. "Dad, I'm sorry I disappointed you. Sorry I didn't follow in your footsteps. Sorry I made terrible choices that hurt everyone who loved me. But I'm trying now. I'm trying to be someone you could be proud of. I'm working, volunteering, helping others. I'm being honest. I'm rebuilding, just like you taught me. You always said architecture is about making things stand, even when the foundation is damaged. That's what I'm doing with my life, making it stand despite the damage. I hope wherever you are, you can see that. I hope you know I love you, and I'm sorry, so sorry." There wasn't a dry eye in the backyard. That night, sitting on the porch with wine, Ashley said, "I know I've said this before, but I need to say it again. Thank you for giving me a second chance. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for letting me come home. You're my daughter. Where else would you go? A lot of mothers wouldn't have done what you did, wouldn't have testified to help me get paroled, wouldn't have let me live here, supported me, given me opportunities to rebuild. You could have walked away. Part of me wishes you had. It would have been easier for you." Nothing about any of this has been easy. But easy isn't the point. Doing the right thing is the point. Building something from the rubble is the point. Your father taught me that. Do you think you'll ever fully forgive me? I thought about that question, the same question she'd asked a year ago. I think forgiveness isn't an on-off switch. It's not something that happens all at once. It's daily work. Some days I feel close to forgiving you. Other days the anger comes back. But every day I choose to keep trying. That's the best I can offer. It's more than I deserve. Maybe. But it's what we've got. So let's make the most of it. We sat in comfortable silence watching fireflies dance across the lawn. The same lawn where Ashley played as a child, where Robert proposed 35 years ago, where we'd buried my wedding ring after his death, wanting to keep him close. So much history, so much pain, but also so much life. The next morning I woke to Ashley making breakfast. Pancakes, my favorite. She'd gotten up early, set the table, even picked flowers from the garden for a centerpiece. "What's the occasion?" I asked. "No occasion. I just wanted to do something nice for you. You do so much for me, and I never really thank you." We ate breakfast together, talking about nothing important. Ashley's job, my volunteer work at the animal shelter, Marcus's new business venture. Normal mother-daughter conversation. Simple, easy. After breakfast, Ashley said, "I have something for you." She handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for $2,000. "It's not much," she said quickly, "but it's my first savings from work. I want you to have it. For everything you've spent on lawyers' therapy supporting me. I'll never be able to pay you back fully, but this is a start." "Ashley, you don't have to do this." "I want to. Please, Mom, let me do this." I looked at the check. $2,000 Ashley had saved working an entry-level job while paying off her legal fees and therapy costs. It represented months of sacrifice, of choosing responsibility over comfort. "Okay," I said. "Thank you. This means a lot. I'm going to keep saving, keep paying you back, however long it takes." "That's not necessary." "It is to me. You gave me a second chance. The least I can do is try to make things right." 3 years after the cruise ship, I stood in a courtroom again, but this time it was different. This time I was there to support Ashley as she formally petitioned to have her name changed back to Ashley Chen, to reclaim her identity before Derek, before the marriage, before everything fell apart. The judge approved the petition immediately. "Ms. Chen," he said, "I've reviewed your case extensively. Your cooperation with law enforcement, your rehabilitation efforts, your advocacy work. You've done remarkable work rebuilding your life. I'm happy to grant this petition. Welcome back to the Chen family." Ashley cried. I cried. Even Joseph, sitting beside us, wiped his eyes. Outside the courthouse, Ashley turned to me. "I'm a Chen again. I'm your daughter again, officially." "You never stopped being my daughter, Ashley, even when everything was broken, even when I couldn't see past the anger. You were always my daughter." "I know, but this feels like a new beginning, like I get to start over with Dad's name, with your name, with the legacy you and Dad built. I won't waste it this time, Mom, I promise." I believe you. And I did. After 3 years of watching Ashley rebuild her life piece by piece, I finally believed she'd changed. Not because she'd erased the past, but because she'd faced it, owned it, and used it to become someone better. That night we had dinner with Marcus, Rachel, and Joseph, a celebration of Ashley's name change and her 3 years of sobriety from toxic relationships. "To Ashley," Marcus said, raising his glass, "who taught all of us what real redemption looks like." "To family," Rachel added, "the one we choose and the one that chooses us." "To second chances," Joseph said. and the courage it takes to accept them. I raised my glass last. To survival, to rebuilding, to making something beautiful from the broken pieces. Your father would be so proud, Ashley, of both of us. We drank and laughed and told stories late into the night. Stories about Robert, about the early days of the architecture firm, about Ashley's childhood. We reclaimed the memories Derek had tried to poison. At midnight, after everyone had left, Ashley and I stood in the backyard looking at stars. "Do you think Dad can see us?" Ashley asked. "See what we've become?" "I think if he can, he's smiling. Not because everything turned out perfect, but because we didn't give up. We kept building. Like good architects. Like good architects." Ashley leaned her head on my shoulder, and I wrapped my arm around her. My daughter. Flawed, damaged, but trying. Trying so hard to be better, to do better. That was enough. That was everything. The story of how my daughter tried to kill me for money should end in tragedy. In broken families and permanent estrangement and lives destroyed beyond repair. But that's not how it ended. It ended with two women standing in a backyard looking at stars, choosing to rebuild despite the wreckage, choosing connection over bitterness, choosing hope over hate. It ended with my daughter coming home, not to the home we had before. That was gone forever. But to something new, something harder won and more precious because of it. Derek Morrison is in prison. The Morrison family empire is destroyed. Justice was served. But more importantly, my daughter and I survived. We survived the betrayal, the murder plot, the trial, the media circus, the years of painful rebuilding. We survived together. And on the nights when the memories come back, when I remember standing on that deck, feeling Derek's hand near my back, when I remember the moment I realized my daughter might let me die, I remind myself of something Robert used to say. The strongest buildings aren't the ones that never face storms. They're the ones that withstand them. Ashley and I withstood the storm. Battered, changed, forever marked by what we went through. But standing, still building, still choosing each other despite everything. That's not the ending I imagined when I boarded that cruise ship 4 years ago, but it's the ending I got. And somehow, impossibly, it's enough.